President Trump wants to move the ball forward. From day one, he has called out institutions or countries who say one thing and do another. And that's precisely the problem at the Human Rights Council. As President Trump said at the UN General Assembly, it is a massive source of embarrassment to the United Nations that some governments with egregious human rights records sit on the Human Rights Council.
For too long, the Human Rights Council has been a protector of human rights abusers and a cesspool of political bias.
For a long time, we've heard the Trump administration speak highly critically of the United Nations and specifically the UN Human Rights Council. But now we have the dramatic move of the USA officially withdrawing from the UN Human Rights Council, not being a member of this body that it's been long critical of. Now, we've heard from Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, and he specifically cited criticism of Israel by the UN Human Rights Council as a reason for the USA withdrawing.
And the Council's continued and well-documented bias against Israel is unconscionable. Since its creation, the Council has adopted more resolutions condemning Israel than against the rest of the world combined.
Now, Israel has thanked the United States for their move withdrawing from the Council, and there have been widespread reactions from elsewhere.
The Secretary General would have much preferred for the United States to remain in the Human Rights Council. The UN's human rights architecture plays a very important role in the promotion and protection of human rights worldwide.
Now, we've heard from the executive director of Human Rights Watch, Mr. Kenneth Roth. He responded saying, quote, "The Trump administration's withdrawal is a sad reflection of its one-dimensional human rights policy. Defending Israeli abuses from criticism takes precedence above all else." He went on to say, other governments will have to redouble their efforts to ensure that the Council addresses the world's most serious human rights concerns. UN Human Rights Council has been quite critical of the United States in a few areas. There has been a recent report on poverty in the United States saying that government policies by the U.S. government have not been addressing the economic rights of the population. There have also been concerns widely expressed about the treatment of migrants in the United States, most recently regarding the issue of the separation of families along the U.S. border. From there, we have heard from the president of the UN Human Rights Council, and he said that the U.S. withdrawal is a topic that should be explicitly discussed by the Council. We did hear from Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and she said that the USA would be continuing to push an agenda of human rights around the world. However, they would no longer be participating in the UN body.
Well, as was just mentioned, America's own human rights record has been called into question on a number of occasions. Recently, Donald Trump's pick for CIA Director Gina Haspel brought to the fore the issue of alleged torture. Under the Bush administration, Haspel oversaw one of the secret overseas prisons run by the CIA, where terror suspects were reportedly tortured en masse. The U.S. envoy to the UN, Nikki Haley, has previously said no human rights violator should sit on the UN Human Rights Council.
Being a member of this council is a privilege, and no country who is a human rights violator should be allowed a seat at the table.
Earlier we spoke to Ramzi Baroud, author and editor of the Palestine Chronicle. He thinks the US leaving the council is actually a good thing.
Since Trump has been in power, the US has further cemented its policy of isolation. The isolationism of Donald Trump did not just reach the council, but also other international institutions, other American commitments under international law, the Paris Protocol, and so forth and so on. Now, I think they just basically decided to do, which in my opinion is a positive thing, remove themselves entirely from the Human Rights Council. I say it's a positive thing in the sense that the U.S. presence in these institutions has only served to target its enemies and to protect Israel and its own interests.